time we decided to apply, maybe had 3 weeks to write, so it was a huge undertaking in a short amount of time. And it's probably the hardest, I told my parents last night, I think this was harder than writing a dissertation, the whole process. It was very extensive. But instead of having lots of meetings like we had in the first go around, I did it a lot more on an individual basis with folks so that we could expedite the process. So that may be why, if you hadn't been part of it, I apologize and upfront because of the time restraints related to the project. But the grant is funded through the U.S. Department of Education and Health and Human Services. And last time Mississippi applied in 2011, so this is the second round of funding. There were 37 applications last time. 9 states were awarded, so they can't reapply this time. And we know there's a few states that are not applying for a second time. So there's probably between 20 and 23 application states applying that we're competing against. They've never given it to a state with high rural population so far, no southern states. So they added priorities this time, such as states with high rural populations and states with strong business support. So I feel like our chances are better. We get some automatic points for demonstrating and being able to meet those priority areas. So I feel our odds are good in this application. NSPARC at Mississippi State University was the lead consultant on it, and they helped us with all the data, tables, everything related to child care. So I just want to give you, there's 5 main goals of the grant. And again, I should have had this printed for you to give to you, but I am so tired right now. The grant was submitted Wednesday at 4:15, and so literally, this is the first time I've been out to see the sun since then. So anyway, I'll make sure you get a copy following the meeting. But the first goal, there's some required areas. So you're going to hear certain things in here weren't our ideas of what required to be in the application. But one was to support statewide implementation of early learning standards that are aligned with the kindergarten through 3rd grade standards. We know that we already have early learning standards, and so the key word in that goal is implementation. We know that we have standards sometimes that sit on a shelf and don't get used, and so the idea in this application was how would we work with child care providers to make sure that we're using those in our lesson plans. So there's a lot of things about technical assistance to child care to implement early learning standards. And then DHS will also work to revise the infant toddler early learning guidelines that need to be updated to go along with the standards. So goal number 1 is all about how we're all going to align the standards that we use in centers. It doesn't mean we're going to make it mandatory that anybody's going to do anything. We just want to be sure if you are participating in using these new early learning standards, which I was on the group that helped write the 3s and 4s one, and I think they're really good. They're aligned well with the K3. So I hope that we'll be able to help those be implemented. Goal 2 is to loudly revise and expand the state's tiered quality rating improvement system at a scale to promote quality improvements and statewide improve access to quality for high needs children. The whole basis for this application is to get children with the highest needs into the highest quality care. And so Jill had already started the process of a revision on the quality rating system, and this application talks a lot about the revisions. We don't know what the revisions will be. The one thing that we did write in here is that the I in TQRIS will be greatly enhanced. That will include technical assistance to centers, much like the building blocks model, where you get ongoing year-round mentoring that's not just once in a while, but much in depth if you choose to participate. Materials per classroom, the parents as teachers model to be implemented in the classrooms if you participate. Scholarships to improve education, to go to get a CDA, an AA, or a 4-year degree, and I think that's down with goal 3 was to talk about professional development. So there'll be scholarships for teachers and a career ladder developed, but we know we can't just say here's a scholarship, get a degree, and then not pay more. So there's the teach and wages part of the grant is in here, where stipends and ongoing salary supplements will be provided to teachers that reach higher levels of education. So just keep in mind there'll be a big revision piece to the quality rating system teachers to higher education, all those pieces will be much more organized all at one agency and providing to you in a unified way. Goal 4 is to improve, I think I said that, no I didn't, improve professional knowledge on the implications for child outcomes for elementary teachers, early learning programs, parents, and policymakers on a statewide kindergarten entry assessment. The Department of Education is in the process of adopting a universal screener and statewide kindergarten entry tool. So if we're able to do that, we really have a standardized way. Right now, what you use to measure kids in Tupelo is different from what they use in the Delta, and so you can't ever say every child's ready at a certain level. So if we were to get these funds, that would unify that process. And the last goal is integrate family and community engagement and parenting support throughout the early learning system. So much like Head Start programs, there's a lot of pieces in here that follow that model, with the parents as teachers, linking children to outside resources, early screening, all of those things. So some things from the last application that we pulled in and said those were great and continued, a lot of revisions in here to other areas, but you know, it's really a big application. The good news is if we do get the, I'm not even gonna say if we do anymore, when we get the funds, it will be December, and we would have time to make some changes. So because we had such a short turnaround between now and December, I'm planning to host a series of meetings to try to make sure when we get the money in December, they do give us a few weeks to make revisions to our budgets, to our narrative, whatever else we've decided to do, and then the funds would start in January. So if there's things that were overlooked or not in depth enough, we've got a little time now to consider making some of those revisions. So I'm excited about it. We had great letters of support from state leaders, advocacy groups, educator groups, child care centers. Thank you for those of you who helped with that. And I feel like it's a strong application. I'm proud of the work everybody did on it, and we're just keeping our fingers crossed at this point. So we should have something in December, and I'll be in touch with all of you. Any questions about that? Still be a voluntary system. My hope and dream is that because of all the good incentives in it, is that, I mean, we had to put goals of how many centers we think would participate by the end of the grant period, and I put some good numbers in there because I really think the incentives are really good, and I hope folks will give it a try. But no, there's no mandatory requirement. Licensing's not moving in this one. 80% of the grant funds are direct services to child care centers. Out of the $37 million, 80% of it is to child care. So
well, let's cross our fingers, because I know that everyone has staff people in their facility that definitely can benefit from the educational component.
Absolutely.
To be able to bring more income into their families.
Absolutely. And Head Start, I talked with folks from Head Start. They said, you know, we have so much already. That wouldn't be an incentive for a Head Start center. So we put in things like helping pay for accreditation fees if you reach for a national accreditation, because that's really expensive, or helping with IT support, and you know, really try to get a good feel for what would really serve as an incentive to those. And we have some, bottom line is what we all think at the table is important, but if it didn't impact the child's outcome, then it's not in this application. So everything is built around, even the QRS will have student outcomes as part of the QRS. It's required to have that in there. You have to measure how the kids are doing. No more saying, 100 people came to my workshop, and we need more money to do the workshop. 100 people came to your workshop, how did the students do after going to your workshop is what I'm using as a measure on this, instead of attendance. So kind of started with the child, then the classroom, then the teacher, well, child, family, classroom, teacher, built out, and then I said, okay, now what projects would feed into that type of model? So it's really child-centered. We had a key consultant who used to work at the U.S. Department of Education, Dr. Tate Gould. He was the lead policy analyst over the 2011 funding. He no longer works there, so he served as a consultant. He knows exactly what to look. He looked at it, I said at the SECAC meeting, it was almost like a game show. He was saying, okay, well this section's worth 40 points, you know, we gotta add 40 and 10, and I'm looking at content, he's like, no, it's all about points. So the way the reviewers look at it is, you know, we gotta have a maximum number of points. And we really tried to write towards the points in what we need. So I think we have a good shot at it. We've got a plan for some follow-up calls to Arnie Duncan by key people in the state, the governor. SECAC will serve, I forgot to mention that, SECAC will serve as the lead agency and lead fiscal agent for the grant. So those funds would be dispersed from SECAC in the governor's office to Department of Ed, Department of Human Services,